Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Gianna, Lian, and I basically just bring you along throughout my life. October is officially over and we are going into November now. So crazy. But today, I'm going to be giving you guys my October wrap-up. As you guys can tell from the title of today's video, I honestly didn't have the best reading month again, but I did read 4 books this month. One of them is on Kindle, so I have 3 physical copies. But even though I only read 4 books, I still read some decently good books, and I'm really excited to share them with you all. Oh, I also got my nails done. I got them done a little while ago for fall. Literally love. Anyways, we're gonna jump right into this video because I need to share these books. I'm also gonna go in the order that I read them this month. So the first one is Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. Okay, so I have a lot to say about this book, but to start off, I gave this book a 3.25 out of 5 stars. It started off strong. I'll give it that. It started off pretty strong. For this book, we have our 2 main characters, Phoebe Walsh and Sam Dennings. Basically, Phoebe is a true crime fanatic. She loves it. She writes it, but she runs into a lot of personal issues that kind of distract her from writing, and she's not really writing that much anymore. But as she's dealing with those problems, she meets her neighbor, Sam Dennings, which he's a fairly new neighbor. Since Phoebe is so into true crime, she is convinced that Sam is a serial killer, and it's basically her just trying to discover who he really is, if he's a serial killer, what are his motives, everything like that. But then we obviously know what follows, some romance. We all know how that goes. Now, this book hooked me from the beginning, but then it just got slow. It completely fell flat for me. I'll get into more of that in a bit, but for the prose, it does have really short chapters, which kept me hooked to keep reading, which was needed considering I did not want to finish this book. And I really liked the other characters in the book, like Sam and Phoebe's brother, but Phoebe, I did not like her at all. She annoyed me. Honestly, she ruined the book for me. I did annotate this book, but that's for another video. That's coming very soon, so stay tuned for that. But the whole entire time in my annotations, I was literally screaming at the main character. I just really did not like her. I don't even know what else to say. I really did like all the true crime references that was included in this book. I feel like it was a really good touch by the author and really pulled the story together. As for the story, the plot was just so simple and boring. Like, the lives of everyone in the book were just so boring. They had nothing to them. I just found it so blah. Like, it was just not for me. The ending was just so flat. I got nothing out of the ending. Honestly, the best thing about the ending was that the book was over, to be honest. It was just not a very fun read. Some parts were funny, but it just didn't make up for how boring everything was. This book gets a 3.25 out of 5 stars for me. Honestly, the extra points are to the cover because that's why I bought the book in the first place, was because of the gorgeous cover. The next book I have here is Bunny by Mona Awad. This was one of my big anticipated reads this month. I definitely wanted to finish this before October ended, considering I felt like it would be good to read before Halloween, so I'm glad I picked it up. But I did end up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't hate it, but I didn't necessarily love it as much as I thought I was going to. But a little recap is that we have Samantha, which is our main character, and she goes to performing arts school for writing specifically. She attends this class called Workshop, and in Workshop, it's just her and then a group, well, more of a clique. It's called Bunny. They call each other bunnies, and basically Samantha has always been so curious about who the bunnies are and why they act like that. Samantha is known as the outcast until she gets an invitation to go to the bunnies' smut salon, which is where she figures out what the bunnies actually are, and a whole bunch of crazy stuff happens. Friendships, relationships, everything is at stake. It's just so hard to explain this book. Even after I read it, I still don't know how to explain this book. I would say from the very beginning, this book started off having such a crazy story just from the beginning. And like I said, I was so confused throughout this whole entire book, but that's what kind of made it so interesting, is that I didn't know what was going on, so it kind of made it fun in a way. And I honestly have not read a book quite like this one ever. This book is nothing like any of the other books that I've read. But it definitely took me a few chapters to really understand how the author was writing and everything that was going on. It was just so new to me that it took me a while to get used to it. Definitely had me intrigued throughout the whole entire book. I wanted to know what was going on, if I could figure out what was even going on in the first place. But I didn't really understand the plot, if there really even is a plot. I feel like there isn't that big of a plot in this book, which is probably why I was so confused. It was just so confusing. I feel like that's why I didn't rate it such a high rating, is because I was confused the whole entire time. I honestly could not wrap my head around the ending, let alone the whole entire book. I'm still honestly confused. Now I definitely understand why whenever I ask someone about this book, I have no idea what to say to me, because you just truly do not know what is going on in this book at all. Until you read this book, you're not going to have a clue on what anyone else is telling you. And even after you read it, you're still not going to have a clue. But in the end, it was a decent book. It was just average. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I don't know. I'm going to stick with 3 out of 5. I definitely think that this book does get a lot of hype, and it is slightly overhyped, but it's still a good book. I would still recommend it. It's just not one of my favorites. The next book I read was on Kindle Unlimited. It is The Universe in You by Rimpledeep Kaur, I think. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. This is actually a new release. One of my really close Goodreads friends and one of my lovely supporting subscribers, she messaged me saying that she officially launched her new book. So of course, I had to go and see what it was all about. I'm so glad I did, because I ended up rating this a 4 out of 5 stars. This is actually a poetry book, which, as you know from my last month, I did read a poetry book for the first time and I really enjoyed it. So I was so happy that I got to pick up another one this month. I feel like they're just so nice of a refreshers. It's not necessarily like a storyline. It's just kind of something different to add to my monthly reading. This book had a bunch of poems that really stuck with me. And I really just loved her writing. It honestly felt so raw and real. And honestly, just so much passion, which I love when authors do that, because it really makes me relate to their books and really ingest their writing, because I can feel their passion. And when I read books I'm really passionate about, it makes it so much better, and it makes the reading experience just 10 times more fun. And the poems in this book are also pretty short, but it's not Instagram-y poetry. And like I mentioned, I could relate to a lot of these poems, which is the best in books, is when you can relate to them to your personal self. I just felt like they were so powerful and definitely stuck with me. And overall, the book is not long, obviously. It's a pretty short book, but I feel like it didn't need to be any longer, because I feel like every single poem and page that is written in it, it just holds so much significance that it just doesn't need to be any longer or shorter. It was the perfect length. But overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I definitely recommend you guys to check out her book. You will not regret it. And the last book I read, I'm so happy I got to this before Halloween, is The xhex by Erin Sterling. I rated this book a 4.25 out of 5 stars. I'm really excited to get into my thoughts about this one. But if you guys don't know what this book is about, it already blew up on Booktok, so I'm sure you guys know. But for the people who don't, this book follows our 2 main characters, Vivi and Rise. Vivi and Rise broke up 9 years ago, and Vivi was honestly very heartbroken by this. So her and her cousin Gwen, they decide to put a curse on Rise. And they honestly didn't think anything of this 9 years ago when they cursed him. They just were doing it for fun, laughs and giggles, until Rise returns to the town 9 years later, and they realize that this curse has gotten a little bit out of hand, and it's a lot more serious than they thought. So now Vivi and Gwen are forced to work together to reverse this curse and basically save their town. We all know how that goes. They definitely have a lot of catching up to do with each other, and there's just a lot that goes down. Right from the jump, I noticed that I really enjoyed the author's writing style. I feel like that's so important to me when I'm reading a book, is if I really enjoy the author's writing style, I'll enjoy the book so much more. The chapters were really short, and I felt like it just flowed really well, and I really loved the layout and plot in the book. Okay, but can we just talk about the banter between Vivi and Rise? I loved that in the book. That was probably one of my favorite touches by the author, is that she is really good at writing banter. I just loved it. I ate it up. It was pretty fast-paced, kept me hooked. It was just a really enjoyable read, and honestly so perfect for Halloween. I finished this on Halloween night, and it was honestly the best way to end my Halloween. It just gave me all those spooky vibes with the witchy elements, and even the settings and stuff like that. It put me into those spooky vibes. And on top of that is that this book was so funny. I was laughing the whole entire time. I was just enjoying myself. It was just such a great time. I'd say the downfall of this book that really stuck with me is that the premise of Vivi and Rai's relationship and kind of their desires. One of the booktubers that I watch, Haley, love her, she read this book and reviewed it, and I agree with what she said. She was basically saying how all their thoughts and motives and stuff like that were just mostly just sexually based. And the whole entire time they were just talking about like how physically attracted they were to each other and nothing really more than that, to be honest, which I found kind of annoying, and honestly is probably the biggest downfall of this book and why I didn't rate it a 5 stars. But other than that, I was really content with the ending. I didn't really want anything more from it. I was just happy finishing it. And I honestly could not recommend a better book for Halloween. Definitely pick this one up, and also check out the second book in the series if you finish this one. But yeah, this one got a 4.25 out of 5 stars from me. Pretty good. Those are all the books that I read this month, but I also wanted to mention that for my school, I'm currently reading a book. It's The Gutter Child. I read half of that this month, but I didn't finish it in October, so I couldn't include it in my monthly wrap-up. It will definitely be in my November wrap-up, but I just wanted to throw that out there because I did read technically half of a book, so the other half will be completed next month. And I'm also currently reading, I'm so happy I picked this up, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I mentioned that I wanted to read that this month, but sadly I did not get to it, but in November I knew I had to pick it up right away. So I did start this yesterday actually, and let me tell you, I obviously haven't finished it yet, but I am already obsessed with this book. So I'm really excited to give you guys all my thoughts and really dive into my review at the end of the month. For now, I just wanted to give you guys an update on what I'm currently reading, and I'm so excited to finish it. But yeah, these are all the books that I read in the month of October. I feel like we had some pretty decent reads this month, and I'm really glad that I got to some of the books that I wanted to read. I can't believe October is already done. We are already in November. Christmas is inching forward faster and faster, and I'm so excited because I love Christmas and Christmas books. Yes. I would like you guys to let me know down below what your favorite book you read this month was, because I definitely need some more book recommendations. I think that's all I have for you guys today, so I am gonna end this video off right here. But please make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and turn that post bell notification on so you get notified every single time I upload a new video. And with that, I hope you guys are having an amazing, wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.